Let's talk about foolproof suggestibility tests. What are they, and why should we even do them if we're going to do them at all?
In hypnosis.
In hypnosis. Suggestibility tests are different things that you can do with a client to supposedly check if they're suggestible. But guess what? That's not the real reason, as you'll find out in a minute. A suggestibility test is typically done before you induce trance with someone, whether it is in a huge stage show in front of a live audience, or whether it's in a psychotherapeutic setting like a hypnotherapist working with a client in an office. They have their place in both settings. Obviously, they have their place in a stage show setting because you want to be able to quickly choose the people who are the most suggestible and get rid of the others so you can do a show.
Yeah, it makes sense. And when I started watching you do hypnosis shows many years ago, you were doing suggestibility tests, probably 3 or 4, and you were stacking them onto each other.
That's right. And this is very important because of a principle. Testing for hypnosis causes
hypnosis.
It does. So if you just go right into an induction without suggestibility test, there's lots of ways of doing that, and it can work for you. But if you do suggestibility test first, you begin to build a momentum that makes it very easy for the person to go into a hypnotic trance.
In fact, we should probably throw up one of those YouTube cards that links to the video on heteroaction, simply because testing for hypnosis, a suggestibility test, is going to create heteroaction. Just like if you're in a client setting doing other things, anything that smooths the way towards hypnosis doesn't have to be a suggestibility test, will create that same heteroaction.
Right, we're creating a momentum. And heteroaction is basically anytime someone responds to a suggestion, it increases their propensity to respond to a different suggestion. This is Andre Weizenhofer, about 1957, he came up with this. So testing for hypnosis causes hypnosis. If you look at the amazing Kreskin's stage show, he always speaks against hypnosis and so on. I see where he's going with this, but the bottom line is his entire induction, which is a 0 induction, is a series of increasingly difficult suggestibility tests. So you start with one test, the people who don't pass it, you throw them back to the audience. You go to your next test, the people who pass it stay on stage, and you keep going. After about 4 tests, you can go right into hypnotic phenomena and have people shivering and hot and so on, forgetting their names.
Without ever doing a formal induction. Without ever telling anybody they're going into a trance. So they're already in one.
And on stage years ago, I did a progressive testing induction for quite a while. My first one was always this, and you'll see why in a second. My second one was fingers moving together, magnetic fingers. My third one was eyes locking. My fourth one was hand spinning, automatic motion. So the whole point is each one of these built a momentum. Then I could send them to South America and they'd feel hot, or imaginary trip to the Arctic and they'd feel freezing cold, just by setting it up with suggestibility tests first. So we're building this momentum. We're building heteroaction.
If you want to see this in action, by the way, inside of the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy, we'll put a link in the description below. In the bonus section, there are 2 videos of Mike doing stage hypnosis shows, full recordings. You can see exactly how this stuff works.
Now, in the Ericksonian hypnosis paradigm, the Milton Erickson style stuff, which is highly conversational and interactive more than direct suggestion, in that paradigm, there are no suggestibility tests because it's presumed that your subject is suggestible and is going to respond if you do stellar work. But if you're doing more direct hypnosis by testing first, remember, you're not really testing their suggestibility. You know they're suggestible. You are doing this to get a response to build heteroaction.
Right.
And when I teach a live class, I'll tell this about 5 times and I'll still say, why do we do suggestibility tests? And half the class will say, to check for suggestibility. Wrong. To
rip up their certificate. No, we're kidding. We never
rip it up.
Yeah.
So 2 quick tests you can use either in a therapeutic setting or on stage are 2 really good ones. And the first one is the classic hand clasp test. Chris, extend your arms in front of you. Interlock your hands. Press the heels of your palms together. Very important. Keep your arms straight. Start to squeeze and focus your attention on your hands. Breathe normally. Squeeze tighter and tighter. Let your eyes close now. And as you squeeze tighter, imagine your hands are locking so tightly together. On the count of 3, they lock so tightly. The harder you try to get them hard, the tighter they lock. Ready? 1, squeeze. 2, locking unbelievably with your eyes still shut. 3, totally locked now. Pull from the shoulders. Pull as hard as you can. The more you try, the tighter you squeeze those hands even more. Okay, you can release your hands. They're normal again. You're an amazing hypnotic subject.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
What's happening here? We have leverage or leverage, depending whether or not you're British or North American, leverage working on your behalf. When he extends his arms in front of him and locks them and presses the heels of his palms together, it's extremely difficult to be able to pull them apart.
You can try it for yourself, in fact. Just put your fingers together. Don't even necessarily put your palms together, but just squeeze your fingers together, and using only your shoulders to pull, you'll notice it's practically impossible.
Pretty well impossible.
So if they're following the instructions, it's very difficult.
They will lock. Keep their arms locked in front of them. Keep their eyes shut through it. Then always, at the end of it, always say your hands are normal again. Always remove testing suggestions, even if they don't seem to work. So hands are released now. I tell them, I reinforce, you're an excellent hypnotic subject. Now we go to a second one. Heteroaction will kick in. Because that first one is an almost certain victory for you, we go to a second one that's a little bit harder. And the one I recommend is magnetic fingers. Two ways of doing it. Either touch your knuckles together and extend your fingers like this. This is the original way I did it. Or interlock your hands, extend your first fingers.
This is my preferred one.
This is a little quicker and easier, but it's a little more obvious what you're doing. So, Chris, put your hands like that, extend your fingers. I want you to stare at the space between your fingers. Listen to the wording there. And I want you to imagine a magnetic force pulling them together, winding them together like this. Now, I can do it that way, or I can go like this, winding them, pulling them in together until they actually touch as the magnets pull your fingers closer and closer. And excellent, your fingers are normal again. You're an amazing hypnotic subject. If they don't quite touch them together for the person. Proclaim they're an amazing hypnotic subject anyway, and move on to the next step.
And you have to work quickly with this one in some cases, right? Because as soon as you set it up and have them stare at that space, and tell them to stare, it's a more powerful word. Staring at that space, the moment they do that, the muscles start to fatigue, and they will tend to, for some people, to move in together
very quickly. So you got to be on it.
Jump on it.
Remember, we're dealing with agonist and antagonist muscles here, and the muscles that close your hand and lock it, it's like a crocodile's mouth. They're much stronger than the ones that open it. So these muscles are starting to pull it together very, very quickly as the other ones are tiring. So stay with it, go really fast. If you do this, and if you do a couple of these tests, you will get confidence that what you're doing is going to work. The key is do the tests, don't try them. And some people say, don't call them a test because people are afraid of failing. And the other point of view says, always call it a test because people are afraid of failing and they're going to make sure they pass it. It's up to you. I'll let you do it either way. But don't try them. Do them. Make them work. They'll build your confidence. And with those two tests alone, it's very certain to work. You can go right into a hypnotic induction.
Let's also be really clear. When we say don't try, we mean don't think in your head,
I'll try this,
I'm going to try this. And don't set it up with your subject / client / whatever. Don't say, oh, would you like to try something? Say, would you like to do something?
You want to experience something cool.
Yeah. Take try out of your vocabulary, except for situations where you want to imply failure.
Like try to remember your name.
Right. Okay, so go ahead and remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you're already a subscriber, click that bell alert icon so that you'll always be notified when we upload another video.
More great stuff coming.
All right. See you in the next video.